for all of you that were hating in 2024, you owe Sergio Perez an apology. And don't get me wrong, we do too. This is Turn One Podcast. We're your hosts, Jeremiah
and Thomas.
I want to touch on Sergio just a little bit, because we tried Liam, we tried Yuki, and Yuki did pretty good. Who knows how he's going to go in these next couple races? But he's not even in the top 10. He's not the answer. So we're still it's all up in the air for that still.
Was I the last defender of Sergio?
I definitely want to say so. No, wait, hold on. You were calling for him to be calling for the seat change also, weren't you?
Yeah, but I made it about halfway through last season.
I think I just wanted him gone because of Danny Rick. Regardless, I have high hopes for Yuki. I think that he did decent. What did he have? 2-3 overtakes? He passed Liam immediately, which I thought was hilarious. But hopefully he does better. He does like the front end. He seemed to be a lot more comfortable in the car than Liam. So we'll see how these next couple races treat him. I don't want to spend too much time on that because the main focus of this episode, y'all thought Lando was going to run away with it. You thought this was going to be a driver's standings fight between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris for the driver's championship. But let me tell you something. Max isn't done. He wants number 5. He wants his name to go down as one of the greats. I think it's only, Michael Schumacher who was able to do 5 in a row. I could be wrong. I think Lewis might have also done it too. But to put yourself in that list of names, that's insane. And Max isn't done. He's definitely trying to bring the fight to Lando Norris. We saw it all race long in Japan as he was, oh my gosh, the last couple laps when Lando's trying to hunt him down, couldn't get in that DRS range, and just Max is just subtly edging him out just right there. He's right there, but he just can't get it. Oh, it was awesome.
There's a difference in a season where a driver is not under pressure versus under pressure. You back to 2023 Max, and Max didn't care if another driver cut him off or another driver broke the rules to get around him because ultimately he knew he was going to win the race and he was going to win the season, so who cares? This year, I'll debate you a little bit here in a little bit on if Lando and Oscar are going to run away with it. We'll talk about that. But to stick with the Lando versus Max thing, going back to the Japanese Grand Prix, when they were coming out of the pit lane, which was arguably the only exciting moment of the race, if you're in the most dominant car and you're the most dominant driver, which again, Max knew he was in 2023, you would give way to Max if you're Lando. And you'd say, I'll get behind him because I'm going to catch him on track. I know that I am. Lando ran himself into the grass as Max called him an expensive lawnmower, or whatever the quote was, and tried to fight to give Max a penalty. That is somebody that is not confident they can beat you straight up in the track on that car. In that car.
Yeah, I was watching that pit exit thinking, is this Farming Simulator 2025? No, it wasn't. It was a Formula One race in Japan, and Lando really should have gotten on the brakes, just followed behind Max. If he had just subtly gotten on the brakes, got right behind Max, and then timed it to where he got on the gas right at the right moment, he would have had a way better chance going into that corner than what he did end up having, because then he had to spend the next few corners trying to chase Max back down, and this is ultimately how the race ended, where he never really got the job done on that. Also, the pit strategy for McLaren made absolutely no sense at all. First of all, we're going to pit Oscar, 7 laps earlier than Lando, which I don't know if they were trying to hold out because Lando and Max, and he's trying to, I don't know what the deal was with that. But if what they should have done, they should have pit Lando 2 laps earlier, get the undercut done. Max's tires are starting to go ever so slightly. He finally goes into the pits, comes out, Lando has the lead, and now Max has to chase him down. That's what should have happened. Instead, they waited until Red Bull pitted, followed them into the pits, and then tried to make this move. Now, granted, they almost got the job done, but tried to make this move coming out of the pits where they were faster in the pits, and they released Lando, and Lando jumps in front of Max. Didn't work out, and it was a bad play altogether. But they almost got it done. I was kind of surprised by that.
It was close, but you're right. He should have backed out of it because him going through the grass cost him time. It had to give some kind of wear on his tires that they weren't expecting for him to immediately go from pit change where they've got the nice warm tires and all that to grass. And he almost could have Verstappen ruled him. I mean, just get right behind him on that exit, and then slingshot around him when you get out of the pit lane.
Absolutely.
And that would have been a better a better strategy. But in Lando's head, he has got to think he's not on the level of Max as a driver, and he's got to think that his car is at best on par with Max's car.
But it's not, and that's what's crazy here. McLaren does have the better car, don't get it
Right.
twisted. Max can win races in the non-dominant car on track. That's just his ability. I want to say, I could be wrong on this, and I think I saw a quote where even Lando said this, but like I said, I could be wrong. I want to say Lando, how do I put this? Doesn't have that dog in him. I want to
But
say
you're looking for like a technical term or something, and you're looking for dog.
I want to say
DAWG.
I want to say that his competitive fire, while it might be really high because he made it to Formula One, I just don't think it's stronger than Max's. I think Max is willing to do whatever it takes, whether he's the one being chased down or the one doing the chasing to get the job done. I don't see that from Lando. I see him trying hard, obviously, and I have to respect that. He's a great driver. He's one of the faster drivers on the grid. I would put him in the top 3, 4. But I just don't see the same things that I see from Max. The way that Max, I mean, picture perfect through almost every single lap of this race, even whenever he was having problems with the shifting earlier on in the race, which thankfully that fixed itself. But it's almost like he's missing that gear that Max has, where it's like the championship's on the line, even though it's only the third race of the season. I have to get it done right now.
And maybe he'll learn that as the season goes on. We saw that switch a little bit last year, and we talked about this, you and I did, where when he won Miami, he went from yes, woohoo, got my first race win and all that, to let's lock in, let's go get the next one. That was a tone shift or an attitude shift for Lando. He might still need one more this season, which is the consistency of winning. Hey, you've proven that you can win every once in a while. Now you've got to win all the time.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about this at the time because I guess maybe we didn't recognize that it was another level. Maybe Max just breezed past that level and we didn't notice it in him. But Lando still has another gear, like you said, to get into to be the top driver. And he's not there yet. I still think that he has a very good shot to win the season, especially if he, fully figures out his car and McLaren makes improvements and all that. And Max will struggle at some point as that Red Bull falls back like it did last year. But he's got another gear to get into.
That's an interesting point. I don't know if the Red Bull is going to fall back this year. I think that they started on their back foot, and I think that the upgrades that they've been bringing to the car, the changes that they've been making to the setup, I think it only gets better from here. And I think that McLaren really has their work cut out for them for the rest of the season to not only stay on top, but to keep Max at bay. He's in second right now, which is amazing, I guess, considering it's Max Verstappen, the greatest driver on the grid. But I think that they definitely have their work cut out for them. They definitely have their work cut out for them while they bring the upgrades to the car to make sure that it stays on top throughout the entirety of the season. It's a very long season. We're only 3 races in, not even a quarter of the way. They have to stay on top for the entirety of the season if they want to keep Max back.
We don't have to dive into this here. We talked about it enough, but my concern with their upgrades this year is no more Newey. This is their first year of no Newey upgrades.
That's true, but also look what they've been able to accomplish in 3 races.
Yeah, but look at where their second driver is.
Hey, he did better than Liam did in the first 2 races.
Look at either of them. They're both not good. I mean, that car is not great. It's good enough in the right hands, and the only right hands is Max Verstappen.
I think we're going to see good things from Yuki. I call me the devil's advocate to how you're thinking. I think we see him in the top 10 in this next race, and I think it only goes up from there. Now, I could be wrong on that assessment. That's just my personal feel from how it looked watching the race as it progressed. But I want to spend some time on Red Bull real quick because this is their final year with Honda. They're going to make the change to, what is it, Ford? It's Ford and Red Bull powertrains. Last year with Honda, last home race with Honda, not the fastest car on the grid, and Max still gets the victory for them. Awesome moment. Super sweet. What a way to end off a contract. Obviously, they still have the rest of the year to go with them, but the last home race gets the job done. Super sweet moment.
I don't exactly remember when they started that relationship. It was 2 years ago, maybe?
Before that,
Maybe
they
3?
were Renault.
Yeah, Renault engines.
They were also the only team to bring the Honda engine, if I'm not mistaken.
You and I, at the time when they had switched to Honda, were not fully up to speed on F1 history and Honda's involvement on that. And you and I both had concerns about Honda being Red Bull's engine provider. Like, there's no way that's going to be a great partnership. Turned out to be a fantastic partnership.
Absolutely.
That really worked out well for him.
Every championship that Max has won has been in a Honda, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that one.
Let us know down in the comments, because I do want to know the answer to that, if I'm right or wrong, because, you know, I can add that one to the me column. With the chase going into, what are we going into? Bahrain next, which is super weird, because for as long as we've been fans, Bahrain's been the season opener, which, yes, that dates us. That's fine. I get it. But we're going into Bahrain, completely different atmosphere. We're going from Japan, where it's humid, to Bahrain, where it's bone dry. And I know they already did testing in Bahrain, so we did get to see a lot out of that, especially out of the Williams, which kind of excites me because Carlos Sainz hasn't been doing so good. So maybe we see a resurgence from Williams, especially Carlos Sainz in particular. But it's going to be a complete toss-up for Bahrain. We're talking about a completely different atmosphere from what we've been racing at the entirety of this season so far. So I don't know. Maybe the Mercedes car is more efficient in drier climates. I don't know. Well, it could be Ferrari's day. Who knows? That's what's exciting. I have no idea what to expect.
It's going to be the first major shift in environment because, like you said, we went from Australia, China, and Japan, so kind of that part of the world. Now we're going to Bahrain, to the Middle East, to where it's dry. And I have no idea how the cars are going to form. Normally, for you and I's perspective, we always started in Bahrain. Now I know going back in F1 history, Australia has been a traditional starting race of the F1 time, but the past 6-7 years, it's been Bahrain. That was the race where teams would work out their terrible pit stops and they would work out their hydraulic issues with the car. Was it McLaren that one year that had to pit like 12 times?
Yeah, Lando.
Bahrain was always that race. We're past that now. We should have a relatively clean Bahrain race with clean pit stops, with all that, given that their cars perform well under the changing environments, which we don't know.
I want clean, but I don't want too clean.
No, can I be real honest for a second?
I think you're about to say what I was about to say, but let's hear it.
Japan was bad.
Yes, dude, it was boring.
Now, we've always had the position, at least I have, that there's enough to watch in an F1 race to keep you interested. I stayed interested because I knew me and you were going to talk about it, and I still love F1 and all that. But if I'm a casual, there wasn't even enough in the midfield or back markers to stay interested in the Japanese Grand Prix.
No, very minimal passing, if any at all. Like I said, Yuki made up a couple positions. But the things that were interesting was really the communication between the drivers and the engineers. And when that's the part that you're focusing on and not the actual racing, there is a problem.
The only exciting part was the Lando and Max pit stop. And even the commenters made a note at the start of the race when they started. Again, Suzuka, you launch out, you go around a turn, you're straight into the S's, they're slippery, it's chaotic, all that kind of stuff. And the announcers were like, oh, we've had a clean start at Suzuka. Okay.
Which, if you consider our namesake, is really boring for us. Because turn one is supposed to be the most chaotic and the most hectic part of the entire race, and everybody went through with zero issues whatsoever.
They all backed out. They all gave room. No one ran off the track, at least not in that part of the race. There was a couple of times where people were getting almost track limited by going off wherever the track had that green painted area. They were going off there.
Yes, where I forgot which turn it is, but everybody was bailing out of that chicane. Everybody. They would lock up going into that corner and then end up on the green and just bypass the chicane altogether.
Even with the frequency of drivers going off track there, none of them caused any issues coming back on. None of them made any fuss out of the other drivers getting in the way.
Nobody tapped the wall. Nobody hopped the curb and went flying.
So I'm sitting there watching it, and again, I'm trying to get pumped up about pit stop strategy. Like, available is 2.5 seconds. Woo!
It's like I said, there were a couple things that were somewhat interesting. Like, I don't know if you were paying attention, but Alex Albon was very upset with the Williams team as he was on there going like, what are you guys even doing? You make no sense at all. And Lewis Hamilton was talking to his Ferrari engineer, basically like, what corners am I slow in? And he was like, 6, 7, 13, 14, or whatever he said. And he goes, okay, but like, how slow? What do I need to do?
We talked about this when Lewis went to Ferrari. There's no way he is ever going to come around to working well with Ferrari strategists
No, he had
or
Bono.
engineers.
Bono is one of the greatest race engineers, in my opinion, of all time.
Mercedes rarely made strategical errors, and their engineers knew how Lewis wanted to be communicated with. Ferrari, for the past 4 or 5 seasons, has been the worst at strategy. Even when they've had a top 2 car on the grid, they've been the worst at strategy. And their engineers don't know how to talk to their drivers. They upset Charles. They upset Carlos when he was there. They upset Sebastian Vettel when he was there. And now they're upsetting Lewis when he's there.
Which is why champions go there to die, unfortunately.
But they also get a paycheck. So,
Hey, shout out to Oliver Behrman getting 10th place in the Haas, bringing home a point. Way to go.
Hey, 5.
But yeah, not a lot of action in the Japanese Grand Prix. Very minimal action whatsoever. Like I said, you're focusing on pit strategy and communications between the drivers and engineers. Not a whole lot of stuff going on. The driver, what is it? The cool down room with the podium drivers. Yeah. That had to be so awkward as they put on the TV the incident of Lando and Max coming out of the pits, and that's when Max makes the joke, that's an expensive lawnmower, and Lando's like, oh, but on the inside he's like,
I still just can't. That's not a Lance Stroll level bad move to purposely drive through the grass, but the odds of getting a penalty called on Max Verstappen there are so slim.
He was fishing. 100% he was fishing.
It's not worth the risk of going through the grass, though, for a 2% chance that Max gets a 3-second penalty.
Be that as it may, we got to hear the Dutch national anthem again. Woohoo.
For the first time this season.
At this point, though, I mean, I know every single note to that song. So there you go with that. Hopefully we get a lot more action out of Bahrain. Like I said, completely different temperature, completely different environment, completely different atmosphere. What is in Bahrain, the one that has the camel races right down the street?
Qatar, maybe?
Oh, that was Qatar. Dang it.
Yes. I think I'm almost certain, because we were looking at Qatar as a newer race, even though they'd raced it before in the past, and we were trying to find things that were around there. I don't think that was Bahrain.
I personally don't have anything else to add to that. Like I said, Bahrain needs to be more interesting. I'm hoping for a completely different race. Do you have any thoughts? Any last thoughts?
I want a closing thought from you on Oscar Piastri season. We had started this video you by saying, let's look at Red Bull versus McLaren, and McLaren's not necessarily running away with this. Right now we sit at Lando 62 points, Max 61 points, Oscar 49. Flipping over to the drivers' championship, McLaren is running away with the drivers. I think we could say 111 points, Mercedes 75, Red Bull 61, all of those being Max. So essentially it's Max Verstappen against complete teams that are getting double points finishes. I think Oscar's 9 killed him. If he had finished where he is regularly finishing, which is 1 or 3, looking at China or Japan, we're having a different conversation here. But can Oscar come back and bring the fight to Max Verstappen? Because that's the situation he's in right now.
I think Max has to have a bad day, which, in as long of a season as we have, we still have another 19 races, something that I believe anything can happen. All it takes is one DNF. All it takes is one 6th place finish. All it takes, whatever. And Oscar with that McLaren is going to be finishing realistically if there's no problems at all, he's going to be on the podium in every race for the rest of the season. I mean, let's just be honest. So if you have Oscar on the podium in every single race, and you have a race where Max gets a 6th place finish here, a 5th place finish here, maybe a DNF, but I doubt that. It's not very common for Max. Yeah, you can absolutely see Oscar climbing right back into this battle. And the same goes for Lando. All it takes is for Lando to have one off race, and Oscar's right back in this battle. Because Oscar Piastri, we talked about this a lot previously in the last couple seasons. Oscar Piastri has always been right behind Lando in performance, not necessarily in qualifying, but it always felt like whenever you got into the actual race trim and you're running consistent laps, lap after lap after lap, Lando just barely had the edge on him. I don't think that's the case this season. I'm just being honest. I think that Oscar and Lando are neck and neck, and I think that this is anybody's race. And realistically, one bad race from Lando, one bad race from Max, and we're looking at a 3-way battle for the championship.
I'm with you. Here's the only thing I'll add, and we can wrap up. We had talked about this season being highly competitive. I had said McLaren's going to run away with it. I still believe that. However, I thought that we'd have a lot more teams getting podiums, at least even through the first 3 races. I thought we'd have more teams getting podiums. Right now, only Lando, Max, Oscar, and George have recorded podium finishes. I thought, maybe a Kimi, definitely a Charles or Lewis would have podium by now, and they haven't.
Yeah.
That could still that's still going to happen throughout the season. So they're going to steal points from somebody. It's just a matter of who. Who is Kimi going to steal podium points from? Who is Oscar and Charles going to, or who is Lewis and Charles going to steal points from? Is it going to be Max, or is it going to be one of the McLaren drivers? That's going to have a lot of weight on the driver standing.
Also, shout out to Kimi, youngest driver ever to lead an F1 race, and also youngest driver ever to finish with the fastest lap in a race.
That guy is doing exactly what Toto needs him to do right now.
100%. And I told you that by the end of this season, Kimi and George are going to be going neck and neck the way that Oscar and Lando are this year. It took Oscar, a little while to catch up to Lando's pace. I think Kimi's going to get up on George pretty instantly. I mean,
they arguably have the second best car on the grid, and they take out Max out of the equation. Their drivers are finishing 1 and 2 behind the McLaren drivers. So they're performing as expected.
Guys, let us know down in the comments. Do you think Yuki's going to have a better day this next race in Bahrain? Do you think that Mercedes will start to bring themselves back into the fight? Where is Ferrari? Do you think that they're going to somehow bring themselves into contention here with upgrades, or who knows, with this different climate that Bahrain's going to bring? Let us know down in the comments. We want to know what your thoughts are.
Guys, do you think Yuki Tsunoda is going to completely wash out, contradicting Jeremiah's prediction, and be replaced by Nicholas Latifi? I think that he might. Let us know down in the comments.
It was possible. It was possible.